For decades, Samsung and LG have owned the premium TV market. They set the prices, they controlled the technology, and everyone else just followed. But in 2026, something shifted. A brand that most people dismissed as cheap Chinese imports just hired the exact executives who built OLED at LG and Neo QLED at Samsung. And they're using that inside knowledge to do something nobody expected. They're bringing the most advanced display technology on the planet, RGB Mini LED, to the masses at prices that make Samsung and LG's flagships look like highway robbery. And the industry giants are quietly panicking. Before we reveal which brand is about to flip the entire TV market upside down, hit that subscribe button and smash the like icon. Drop a comment right now and tell me, which TV brand are you using at home, and are you tired of paying premium prices for technology that should have been affordable years ago? Let me know, because today we're breaking down how Hisense is about to force the biggest TV price war in history, and why Samsung and LG should be very, very worried. Let's start with the basics. For years, the TV industry has operated on a simple model. Samsung and LG develop new technology. They launch it at insane prices, they keep it exclusive for years, and eventually, maybe, it trickles down to affordable models. OLED was like this. When LG first brought OLED to the mass market, it cost $15,000. It took nearly a decade for prices to drop below $2,000. Mini LED followed the same pattern. Samsung's best Mini LED sets still cost $2,500 to $3,500. And now we're seeing RGB Mini LED, the next evolution, and once again, Samsung and LG are trying to keep it locked behind premium price tags. But Hisense just said no. They looked at the playbook, hired the people who wrote it, and decided to tear the whole thing apart. Here's what makes this story so wild. Hisense isn't some startup. They're not a new brand trying to break into the market. Hisense has been around for decades. They're one of the largest TV manufacturers in the world. But in the US market, they've always been seen as the value option. The brand you buy when you want a big screen, but don't want to spend big money. Cheap and cheerful. Good enough. But in 2026, Hisense made a move that changed everything. They hired Sarah Larson as their new Chief Marketing Officer for North America. And if that name doesn't mean anything to you, it should. Because Sarah Larson is the executive who launched OLED at LG. She's the person who built Neo QLED at Samsung. She knows exactly how the premium TV market works because she created it. And now she's at Hisense, and she's bringing all that knowledge with her. In an interview, Larson said something that should terrify Samsung and LG. She said Hisense is small and mighty, and that gives them an advantage the giants don't have. They can move faster. They don't have layers of bureaucracy. They don't have legacy pricing models to protect. When Hisense announces a new technology at CES, it's on shelves in weeks or months. Samsung and LG announce tech at CES, and you wait 2 years, sometimes 5 years, before it becomes affordable. That speed is a weapon. And Hisense is using it to flood the market with RGB Mini LED, the most advanced display technology available, at prices that make premium TVs look like a scam. What is RGB Mini LED and why does it matter? Before we go further, let's talk about what RGB Mini LED actually is, because this is the technology that's about to change everything. Traditional Mini LED, the kind Samsung and TCL use, works like this. You have thousands of tiny white LED lights behind the screen, grouped into dimming zones. When a part of the image needs to be dark, those LEDs dim or turn off. When a part needs to be bright, they crank up. This gives you great contrast and insane brightness, but there's a problem. The LEDs are white, and the color comes from a layer of quantum dots or color filters in front of them. This works well, but it's not perfect. You lose some color purity. You get blooming around bright objects on dark backgrounds, and peak brightness, while good, has limits. RGB Mini LED is different. Instead of white LEDs with color filters, you have red, green, and blue LEDs directly behind the screen. Each pixel gets its own dedicated RGB lighting. This means you get purer colors, better contrast, higher brightness, and almost no blooming. It combines the infinite contrast of OLED with the crushing brightness of mini LED, and it doesn't have OLED's burn-in risk. It's the best of both worlds. Samsung has this technology in their flagship models, but they charge $3,500 or more. LG is developing their own version, but it's not widely available yet. And then Hisense shows up and says, "We're putting RGB mini LED in mid-range TVS. We're making it accessible." And that's the nuclear bomb they just dropped on the industry. Second, there's the hype versus reality problem. Hisense is marketing aggressively. They're making bold claims about RGB mini LED being the future, about beating OLED, about crushing Samsung and LG. But when the TVS actually ship, will they live up to the hype? Early reviews suggest yes, but we need more data. If Hisense overpromises and underdelivers, the backlash could be severe. Consumers will feel burned, and Samsung and LG will pounce on the opportunity to say, "See? You get what you pay for." Third, there's the question of longevity. Samsung and LG have decades of experience building TVs that last. Their panels age well, their software gets long-term support, and their build quality is rock solid. Hisense is newer to the premium game. Will their RGB mini LED panels hold up over 5 to 8 years? Will the backlights degrade? Will the software become sluggish? We don't know yet. Buying a new Hisense in 2026 is a bit of a gamble. The specs look amazing, the price is unbeatable, but the long-term track record isn't there yet. What this means for the industry: if Hisense succeeds, and the early signs suggest they will, the entire TV industry will change. Samsung and LG will be forced to drop prices on their premium models. They'll have to accelerate their own product launches. They might even have to rethink their entire pricing strategy. And that's good for consumers, but it's also risky for the industry. Price wars are brutal. They compress margins, force companies to cut corners, and sometimes lead to worse products. If Samsung and LG feel pressured to match Hisense's prices, they might cut costs in ways that hurt quality. Cheaper panels, weaker warranties, less R&D investment. That's the dark side of aggressive competition. There's also the geopolitical angle. Hisense is a Chinese company, and in 2026, there are ongoing tensions around tariffs, trade policies, and manufacturing. If new tariffs hit Chinese electronics, Hisense's cost advantage could evaporate overnight. Suddenly, their TVs aren't cheaper anymore, and Samsung and LG regain the edge. Or if US consumers become wary of Chinese brands due to political rhetoric, Hisense's momentum could stall. These are real risks that could derail the whole story. But for now, Hisense has momentum. They have the technology, they have the talent, they have the pricing, and they have the speed. And Samsung and LG are scrambling to figure out how to respond. Do they match Hisense's prices and accept lower profits? Do they double down on brand prestige and hope consumers still pay the premium? Do they accelerate their own RGB mini LED rollouts? There's no easy answer, and that's why 2026 is such a pivotal year for the TV industry. Here's the truth: Hisense isn't just another value brand anymore. They're a legitimate threat to the TV industry's biggest players. By hiring the executives who built OLED and NeoQLED, by bringing RGB mini LED to the masses, by moving faster and pricing smarter, Hisense is forcing Samsung and LG into a corner. And consumers are the ones who win. You're getting flagship technology at mid-range prices. You're seeing massive discounts on last year's models. You're watching an entire industry get shaken up in real time. But this isn't a fairy tale. Hisense has to prove they can deliver on quality, support, and longevity. They have to overcome the perception that cheap means inferior. And they have to navigate the risks of tariffs, supply chain issues, and potential backlash if their TVs don't live up to the hype. If they pull it off, 2026 will be remembered as the year the TV market changed forever. If this video opened your eyes to what's really happening in the TV industry, smash that like button and subscribe for more honest tech breakdowns. Drop a comment and tell me, are you willing to take a chance on Hisense, or are you sticking with the brand you trust? And if you've already bought a Hisense TV, how's it holding up? Let's talk about it. And remember, the best TV is the one that fits your room, your budget, and your needs, not the one the marketing tells you to buy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.